Content is king. We all know that as writers, as authors, as editors, we know that it all comes down to the content. But how do you use the right content for the right market, for the right social media platform, especially LinkedIn? We all know that LinkedIn can be one of the best platforms for getting real business people to engage with you. So how do we make the most of it? You're going to find out how today on today's episode. Hi, I'm Dan Janelle. I've written more than a dozen books that have been translated into 6 languages. I'm a ghostwriter, book coach, and developmental editor. And if I can't help you write your book, I can find the right person who can. You can reach out to me at dan@prleads.com, and you can find more information at writeyourbookinaflash.com. Today, our guest is my LinkedIn expert, the person that I go to when I want my LinkedIn profile to really show up better. And if you like my LinkedIn profile, it's because Joanne wrote it. And if there's anything wrong with it, then I probably wrote something and screwed it up. But she is fantastic. She has blogs, she has seminars, she has lots of great information. We are delighted to welcome you. Thank you for being with us today, Joanne.
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me.
Great. So what are the best content tips that you can share with us today?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me just preface it by saying LinkedIn loves content creators. And the direction that LinkedIn is headed and has been headed this year is towards content creators. And so they favor, in the algorithm, if you want to get into the nitty gritty, they really favor various types of content. And so I really want to start by saying content builds trust, and it's a great strategy for building influence with your LinkedIn network. And so I think it's important to understand that part at the beginning, right? Why are you doing it? Because you want to really position your authority. So it was interesting to hear some of your folks' introductions. They're all doing something different in terms of writing. And so you want to position that authority. So, for example, Penny, who writes operation manuals, I'm sure there are plenty of companies that have a need for that. So she wants to position her content with that authority. So tip number 1, in terms of LinkedIn, is get to the point immediately in your post. If you're making a post on LinkedIn, you want to make sure that the first 3 lines of that post are really compelling, enough that I'm going to click the see more, which shows up after the 3-line preview. So that's a tip that's really important. Get to the point of what you're trying to say immediately. People scan the newsfeed, whether it's LinkedIn or any other social platform, they scan it quickly. So your goal is to draw them in. Number 2 is that you want to post thought leadership content. And so what I mean by that is kind of what I alluded to before, is you want to increase your authority by publishing insightful and relevant content that's going to add value to your ideal customer. Now, I want that to sink in for a minute, because people make the mistake of writing things that they want to say, but does that mean that's helping your ideal client? No, I see a lot of that out there. So your goal is to be seen as the expert in your industry. So stick to what you know. Write about what you know. So, like I said, I see people posting a variety of content topics. And what happens over time is you distill your own brand. I don't know really what you stand for, because you're writing about everything. So, be a master of one is what I'm trying to tell you. And because ultimately you want to be seen as the expert in your own network. And that's how you're going to outshine your competitors. Okay, so tip number 3 is all about sharing content via an event. So what I mean by that is LinkedIn has an event feature on your home, both on company pages and on your profile. So if you are hosting a webinar, for example, it's a brilliant place for you to post that event, and then you can invite people in your network. LinkedIn loves events. And so when I say things like that, what that means is they're going to show it to more people in your network. And that's important because if you are hosting an event like Devin was talking about, or if you want to just host a webinar, creating an event post in LinkedIn is going to get you a lot of reach. So that's tip number 3. And tip number 4 actually is to mix in personal content. So what do I mean by that? People who use LinkedIn always say, well, this isn't Facebook. I don't want to see all kinds of things that someone had for lunch. I don't disagree with that. But when I say personal, it is a strategy to share personal stories that you could tie into what you do. It helps people really get to know you as a person. And ultimately, right, people do business with people they like. As long as you have the experience to back that up, if they feel like I know you, I can relate to you, I could relate to the personal story you shared, that can be super powerful. And you're all storytellers, you're all writers, you have that gift. And so I'm suggesting that you use that to your advantage. So those would be my top 4 tips in terms of content strategy on LinkedIn. I can go a little deeper if you want in terms of the types of content. I see a shaking head, yes. So let me say that right now, the number 1 style of post you can create is a document post. And document posts, LinkedIn is favoring in the algorithm. So when I tell you things like that, what that really means is they're going to show your post to more people. So a document post is a really great style of posts. And if you want to see what that means, if you go to my profile and look at my posts, you will see some document posts in there. The second,
Excuse me, are document posts different from articles?
Yes.
Tell us how.
Yes. So a document is in the form of like a PDF. And a super simple way to create a document post is, if any of you are using Canva as a free tool to create your graphics, here's a tip. Use the Instagram carousel template, and that will help you lay out a multi-page document. You want to put big letters and less words. The whole concept is, number 1, it's keeping people engaged with your post. So when you post a document, you actually can go from page to page to page. I suggest maybe 3 to 6 pages with big fonts, and you really want to just include a major point that you're trying to make. That's a document post. An article is entirely different. An article is where you're actually writing short or long form content, which you style as a blog post, for example. it is housed on your profile, but its reach is not as good as a document post.
Great.
The second form is polls. Now you see them in the news feed all the time. I think they've kind of got overdone this year, but LinkedIn favored polls also, which means they're showing it to more people in your network. So the key to a successful poll is asking the right question. And so you want to think about creating a poll for your ideal audience that gets them to engage. So when I create a poll, my first 3 lines are drawing them in. And then I always have a call to action. So that call to action might say, in addition to my poll question, I might say, please leave a comment below with your thoughts, for example. So I'm getting them to answer the poll and leave a comment. That's been really powerful. The third type of content would be a text plus an image. The fourth would be a text-only post. And the fifth would be a video post.
I'm sorry, Joanne, before we go to video, how long should a text post be and how much is too long?
Well, let me pose it to you this way, Dan. To capture people's attention is hard these days. So I personally think shorter is better. Now, people might disagree with me, but if you think about if you're writing long form, I would do an article. If you're doing just a post, I would keep it shorter.
Okay, great. And let's wrap up with video.
Yeah, so video last year was the top of the heap. It's not anymore. I think videos are great. If you are going to post a video, it should be really short. I would say a 5-minute video, and you must include captions, because still people are scrolling LinkedIn oftentimes without the volume on. So you want to make sure that you have captions on your video.
Great. Thank you for sharing those wonderful tips. How can people get in touch with you, Joanne?
You can find me on my website, which is linkedinforbusiness.net. You can email me, Joanne, at linkedinforbusiness.net. And I think I'm the only Joanne Funch on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me there.
Great. Thanks for being with us today. And thanks everyone for listening. You can find more than 100 other episodes on this channel to find out how you can write your book in a flash. Thanks for being with us. Thank you for listening to the Write Your Book in a Flash podcast with Dan Janelle, the only podcast that shows you exactly how people just like you have built their businesses by writing a book. If you'd like to write your book but don't know where to start, you can find great information at writeyourbookinaflash.com. If you're ready to take your next step to write the book that can transform your business, I invite you to schedule a free, no-obligation consulting call with me by going to writeyourbookinaflash.com. We'll be back next week with another insightful interview to help you become a top business leader.